You know, having a gathering like this it's in the dimension and the realm of preciousness. It's precious. It's so precious on so many different levels. It's amazing that we all arranged our lives to be together for this week, and resources and families. Some people have kids, the whole thing. This retreat center and all that they have put into it, Kathleen, the mountain, the river, the flowers, the ancestors, all of us. I mean, if we really, really allow ourselves to be touched deeply by that, wow, what an opportunity. What an invitation. It's rare and it's precious. And when Sharon and I first conceived of this retreat, Sharon and I like to have fun. And we called it Soul Sister Heaven Realm. Let's do a retreat in the Soul Sister Heaven Realm. And obviously it's been a journey for all of us to feel and recognize and give voice and room, and allow room for our disappointment around Sharon not being able to be here. But she's here, and we had this crazy idea because both of us, she does retreats, all over the place, and I do retreats in Oregon, well, sometimes in Colorado now too, but we're silent the whole time, quiet the whole time. And we kind of had this crazy idea, it's an international retreat and it's Pura Vida, it's up on the mountain, it's the river, it's the magic of Chiripo. And as a Sangha, of which we're all part of a Sangha. Open gate, clear light, full circle, and the greater Sangha of just humanity. It's our time. It's our time. We can all feel it. It's our time to remember how to interbe from the empty center. And so she and I were like, okay, let's start practicing this at retreat. In conversation, in relation, because it's one thing on your cushion, and it's beautiful. She and I are both in love, deeply in love with the ground of being and silence that is, and the reflection of that in a quiet retreat. But it is a privilege, really, and a precious opportunity to practice with one another, staying deeply, deeply in our seat as we walk about, make choices, have actions and interactions, look in people's eyes, speak. And you don't have to. You can stay silent the entire time. And hallelujah. But that was kind of the method to our madness. Let's try this as a Sangha. Not just when we get after retreat and we're sort of thrown back into our, what we call our real life, as opposed to our spiritual life. And we all know that's nothing but a division in the mind, but it can be kind of rocky going home. Maybe some of you have had those experiences after retreat, So that was the beginning. And what I also thought I might want to bring forward this evening, since I'm sitting, some of you I have been sitting with for, what did we say at dinner, almost 30 years. And some of you not quite so long, but quite a bit of time, both in Sharon's retreats and at my retreats. And then some of you I'm just meeting. How exciting. So I thought I would tell the story of how Sharon and I met. And some of you have heard it quite a few times, but it's a story that's obviously very near and dear to me. And with Adya retiring, we've been telling the story a little bit more in retreats, just at per requests, obviously. Beautiful Michael, my dear friend here, at the spring retreat, fall retreat, whatever was last, I don't even remember, but said, you all have processed this, but we haven't, I need you to talk about this, the retirement of Adya. And I'm like, okay, all right, thank you for that. So I was looking for Sangha. I wouldn't have ever known to call it that. I was living in Eastern Oregon, doing my life, and had a very sudden shift in consciousness. And then kind of had to find my tribe. And somehow or another, I came upon Adya's The End of Your World. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm driving to Southern California to go to a silent retreat. I'm like, whatever that is. I mean, I had no idea. I was just desperate to speak to somebody who was speaking my experience. And he very much was speaking my experience. So I'm driving down there from Oregon to sit in a silent retreat. The piece that is positive that you're crazy, that you're just actually literally going crazy, was very heated up at the time, like, oh my God, and you're going to tell people what? What are you going to tell people, And going. And I had so much physical energy at that time. The shift here was precipitated by a big Kundalini rising. And so the amount of energy, I mean, my hair was on end. I was just on fire, literal fire. And so to sit as much as like Adya's Sangha sits was like, no way. So it was out Mount Madonna, and I'm just walking through the redwoods most of the time and going to Adya's talks, but just walking through the redwoods. And I had a sense that no, go sit down. And, there was fear about at the time I was like having seizures and stuff because of all of the energy. And what if that happens? 300 people, the whole thing was still very much active here. The narrator that speaks of fear was still very active at that time. So I head to meditation. I'm kind of running because Adya doesn't let you come in there late. He's not waiting around. The door shuts. That's it. And I skate in at the last minute, like, and they close the door right behind me. And there's one seat available. And I go and I have to like kind of slosh through some people to get there. And there's this goddess sitting next to me with this hair, this brilliant white hair, and this like serene, countenance. And, I thought, okay, so I sit down, and Adya begins to give a Dharma talk about redemptive love and the true nature waking up in the heart. And I was really not keeping it together. Sharon to this day says it's the most beautiful talk she's ever heard him give on redemptive love. it was a mind blower. And I'm sobbing and just really trying to kind of keep it together. And this woman starts throwing me Kleenexes. She's like throwing me Kleenexes, and I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to do that. This is a silent retreat, They told me the rules. I don't think. And she's like patting my leg, and and we've got this whole like resonance going. I mean, you could just deeply feel it. So then we leave, retreat ends. I go driving back to Oregon, and I was able to speak to Adia at that retreat, and so I was feeling quite a bit more settled. But as everything kept unfolding, I still I needed a teacher I could have a personal relationship with, and Adia has given us he's a true bodhisattva. He's really given us everything, but he can't give us that because there's too many of us. So I'm flipping. Back then, he still had a teacher page on his website. He doesn't anymore. And I'm looking, and there's the woman that I sat by. And I'm like, oh my God, her name is Sharon Landrum. Whoa, you can call her. That moment is forever with me. And so I did. I contacted her, and I said, I don't know if you remember me. I sat next to you. Oh, sweetheart, I've just been waiting for you to call. I knew you were going to call, I just was like, oh my gosh. So her next retreat was a 10-day self-guided retreat in the desert in Crestone, in a little hut. You each had your own little hut. You got to talk to Sharon a couple of times, 10 days. Like, okay, I am a hermit. This will be great. And I drove to Crestone, which some of you have been there, some of you haven't, but talk about a pilgrimage. It's way out there, and it's really wild. And that was the beginning. And I was still so shy, and there was still quite a remnant of self-consciousness, even though it wasn't being believed anymore. The mechanism was still there. That has since dropped out, thanks be to God. But so I wrote a letter, and I stood in front of her and read it, asking her to be my teacher. And it was just it was a big moment for me. So time went on, and she's just always called me a soul sister. I always tell Timo she's the one person I can say anything to, and she gets it instantly. Like, she gets it. Experientially, she gets it. So I don't know how many years I knew Sharon. And then she started telling me, well, you're going to teach. And I'm like, what in the hell are you talking about? I loved her dearly, just as I do now, and I trusted her completely, but that seemed like on the level of ridiculousness. I mean, I just really didn't know what she was talking about. And she'd just kind of pat me and go, well, you guys know Sharon, she just kind of has this way. She knows, but she's not going to force it down your throat. But she knows. And she had me be retreat leader a couple of times, and she kept saying, and I was like, no, I want to be a hermit. And I can be, Aja told me I could be, because that was one of the things I had asked him when I stood up in front of him. Like, I just want to be a hermit. He was like, okay, be a hermit, And so I was like, I have permission from Adia, But no, so anyway, Sharon was kind and truthful and sincere, and gave me refuge in the lineage about 10 years ago. And that's how it all started. And then a few of us And a few of them are here in this room. A few, 4, 5, sometimes 6 of us would get together and do silent retreats in Cove, Oregon, and we held the flame up there. And so that's how I'm sitting here today, guys. And I just had a deep sense of wanting to speak some of that, to bring Sharon real near, to bring her really near. Not that she isn't, but anyway, I'll just cry now. So we have an opportunity, we have an invitation from our heart. However, whatever words you want to use to describe that which animates this life. Which is certainly not a personal me that is animating this big old world. That has called us. Divine source. Some people like the word soul, some people can't stand it. I mean, I've heard it all with words. God, divinity, love. That which sees through our eyes, that which animates the life. That which is full and empty, wave and particle, form and formless, and beyond any notion of all of that as well, has called us. And can we even begin to understand the grace of that, the gift of that this is where we are? This is where we are this evening? And many things might come up while we're sitting here. Or not while we're sitting here, but while we're trying to be with other people. This is a way that doesn't have a lot of things to hang on to, mantras, and not that any of that is, I'm not against any path that serves your unfolding and your heart. But the direct way, the way of liberation, Adyashanti's lineage is, basically be still, question your thoughts, and contemplate the source of reality. And that's all you got. That's what you get. And a lot can come forward in that space. Some big stuff, or just some, what's seemingly crazy stuff, can arise from the subconscious. The only way is through. Whatever is presenting has its coming, its abiding, and it's falling away. And whether we are able to be with that, or whether at some point during the coming, the abiding, or the going, we grab and begin to say no, or resist, push away, pull closer, give me more of that, don't give me any of that. Oh, I don't know why that would be, all of that, all of the narration, all of the believing, all of the having the reasoning and having the mediation between the experience and having the intellectualizing and conceptualizing sitting on top of that brings suffering. That's what it does. Every path talks about it. Every person here has discovered it. That's the root of suffering. That there's this separate someone who is managing, getting, having, managing. So we have the opportunity to investigate that. Investigate and inquire into what we're believing and what is actually here. Contemplate the source of reality. Be still. Question the mind's interpretation and all the beliefs that are propping up the sense of separateness, and contemplate the source of reality. So we can sink into our breath, we can sink into our seat. We can take refuge in this beautiful, beautiful gathering of heartfeltness, wholeheartedness. Why else would you be here? Your heart, the heart. So that's probably enough for tonight. If you get into some deep water, come talk to Trish, and she'll come talk to me. There's small groups every day. Take heart in this beautiful place. Go to the river. The river that's, giving without thought. So let's sit quietly for the next few minutes.